So yesterday, not last night, was the big speech that everyone kind of waits and holds their breath for. It's when Gary Keller gives his vision speech and essentially his predictions for next year. So a key insight that he gave was 2024 was the lowest home sales that we've ever seen since 1995. He also showed a graph that showed that in 1995 it took about 4 years for the market to come back. And you can see this cyclical pattern where if it's really low, it stays low for 3 to 4 years, and then it comes right back. And the absolute best line that summed this up is Jason Abrams said that you may buy at the top of the moment, but you'll never buy at the top of the market, because really that's everyone's concern is, am I timing this out correctly? Am I going to buy at the top and then miss out and look like a fool? If you look at the trends, every 4 years it's low, and then it goes up, and then it goes down, and then in 4 years it stays low, and it's a 15-year cycle. And he asked everybody, raise your hand if 15 years ago, if you could go back and 15 years ago, you would have bought as much real estate as you could. Everybody would raise their hands. It was kind of a funny joke, but it was so true. And yet we always think somehow it's different. Somehow this market might not come back, or somehow it's going to break the cycle. And it truly does not. So he said, and again, this is such a great line, you may feel like you're buying at the top of the moment, but you're never buying at the top of the market, because we've never seen the top of the market. It keeps going up. So that was my favorite part of the vision speech. It was kind of like bittersweet. It was, okay, another couple years, going to be rough, and yet it is going to come back like it always does. And stop worrying about timing the market and trying to buy at the top of the market, because no one's ever actually done that, because it keeps going up. So you may feel like you're buying at the top of the moment. You may buy at the top of the moment, but you're never buying at the top of the market. So that was an amazing vision speech. Really happy that I went to that. So something else that was covered in the vision speech is, I think most people know that a huge transfer of wealth is going on from the baby boomers to Gen X to millennials, and they had some really interesting stats on that as well. So just by the numbers, baby boomers have $19 trillion in real estate assets. It's going to be such a massive transfer of wealth. Baby boomers control 50% of the U.S. assets. So the relevance of this is, if you're an agent, are you putting yourself in a position to help as many people as possible that are going to be experiencing this transfer of wealth? And if you are a person that owns those assets or looking to eventually inherit those assets, are you putting things in the proper positions for that transfer? All this to say, we are currently living in the biggest transfer of wealth in the history of the world, and it is up for grabs whichever agents can best service those people in need. So a super interesting data point that they talked about yesterday was that on listings. I don't know where your market is specifically, but I think a question to ask yourself is, have you noticed homes sitting on the market just a little bit longer than you are used to? Well, we're going to talk about that trend, what the prediction is for 2025, and what you as a buyer or a seller would need to know about that. So in January, we saw 406,000 new listings. This is across the nation, but you don't have an anchor for that. So let's talk about November and December. In November, it was 301,000. In December, it was 325,000. So we're talking about 100,000 unit increase on new listings. So why does this matter, and how can January give us such a strong prediction for the rest of the year? Well, because historically, January is the floor of the lowest inventory. So if January, I'm just going to use a random number, if January was a 4, then everything else is going to be 5, 6, 9, 4, 7, but it will very rarely go below the January numbers. Because, from there you start to see the spring market, the summer market. So that tends to be why you're going to see numbers. So what does this mean for buyers and sellers? Well, we're going to see a lot more listings on the market. If you're a buyer, you're going to have better options, at least to negotiate. If you're a seller, you're going to have to price really intelligently. And if you don't price correctly, you're going to have price adjustments, which again, we didn't see those for a while, but they're going to be coming back. So it's going to be a lot more negotiations and a lot more listings is the prediction. So anyways, there was tons of good information. That one jumped out at me because I think that's going to be a true perspective change on the market, is just seeing more listings sitting longer.